Okay.
Is it recording the proper way?
Yes, it is. For the video's purposes, please state your name and consent that you consent to being videoed.
All right. My name is Corey Dawson, and I do consent to being videoed right now for this topic.
All right. So to start the interview off, what historical event comes to mind when you think of your life?
I would have to say probably the Space Shuttle Challenger.
So what happened with the Space Shuttle Challenger?
During the launch of the space shuttle, it exploded. During there's a point during the launch where it's clearly from mission control it says, Challenger go with throttle up. So when they, basically gave it gas, during that process it exploded, and it was. Let me tell you about the day and all what was going on.
Yes.
All right. So January 28th, 1986, I was in high school. I was a senior in high school. It was about 11:39 is what they say that when it exploded, and I'll never forget it. I was at a convenience store at 11:39 in the morning. However, I was in the Skill Center program, so I'd already had my couple of classes, and I was headed to work. Okay, that's what I was doing at a convenience store at 11:39 in the morning. But it was a sunny day. It was chilly because it was in January, but it was a sunny day, which caused an issue. After they, towards the end of the story, they found out it was a high-profile launch because this was the first time there was a teacher on board, and her name was Christina McAuliffe, something like that. And anyway, so this was the first time a teacher was going to be in space. It was major publicity. Tons of people were watching the thing. They say about 85% of Americans surveyed had heard of the crash or the accident within an hour after it had happened, which has everything to do with the media coverage that was buzzing around the thing. It was like 17. I think I read 17%. There was a massive turnout in Cape Canaveral for the launch. So it was pretty spectacular event. The Challenger, since all that happened, the Challenger has been used for case studies, or as a case study in many discussions of engineering and safety issues, and it was a very serious thing. The whole country was really around this launch. There was a lot of space shuttles. I don't remember the numbers, but there was a bunch that had been going on. Okay, so I mean, to say it became, routine. I may not use that kind of verbiage, but there were many. Seemed to be there were plenty of launches going on at that time. And what happened was there were just some other issues. You doing okay?
Yeah. What did happen? Do you know what happened?
Well, there were apparently there were some issues with O-rings. O-rings are a big telltale thing. They call them SRBs, the solid rocket boosters that propel the space shuttle into orbit. It's solid fuel, so it's kind of it's not like during the Saturn days with the Apollo missions and stuff where they use liquid nitrogen for fuel. This was a solid fuel, so kind of like you can look it up, watch them make it. It's actually like clay, okay, and it burns. And anyway, so there were issues with the O-rings. The O-ring, the solid rocket booster is obviously round. It's a cylindrical thing, and it's full of all this fuel, and it's made up of multiple pieces, and a lot of the joints are physically put together, and then in the once from the manufacturer. Then once they get it down to, I think Kennedy, I'm not sure where, but at some point they have to put another piece, like the last couple of pieces out of 5 or 6, whatever it is, and there are O-rings involved that make the seal, just like a washer on a water hose or something. You know what I mean? Where to keep the water pressure from going. Okay, it just keeps the fuel where it's supposed to be. Okay, so it can't come out the seams. And there had been, in 1977, there was a report from someone, I don't remember who, but there had been reports that the SRBs, solid rocket boosters, needed to be checked, for safety reasons and things like that. And the long and short of it is the management, or someone, maybe not management, but someone did not pass along that information, or it got passed along and it wasn't reviewed by management, or they reviewed it, and the worst case would be they chose to ignore it.
So the gas eventually leaked and spread and caused a massive explosion in the Challenger, which caused the...
Yeah, I mean, I'm no rocket scientist, but that's the premise that I gather from what went on. The O-rings are supposed to keep the gas out, and it's pretty cool. Look that stuff up on YouTube, man. When they light one of them rocket boosters off, they show them testing that thing. It's like 3.5 million pounds of thrust. Woohoo! That's a lot of power. And so when this happened, President Reagan, he appointed a special commission called the Rogers Commission to investigate the accident, and that in itself, anytime an accident like that takes place, I mean, when an airplane crashes, it can take years to find out. The space shuttle program was grounded for almost 3 years. So, leading up to the accident, you had all the, I don't remember, there was at least 5, 6 or something. I mean, there was a bunch, and then all of a sudden, dead. No pun intended, but I mean, there was a 3-year dead span, and, they determined that it was a major negligence on management, a neglect on management. And, what was honestly a day of national pride and honor for our country, turned into a day of national tragedy, all because someone didn't use the systems that were already in place. They've proven to work. NASA, the stuff NASA did over the years. They created their systems in place. You watch, study Apollo 13. I mean, they would have never been able to get those guys back home if they hadn't had systems that work. So somebody really screwed up on this, in my opinion. Again, I don't have all the facts by no means, but systems are designed for specific reasons. There are many. Systems for anything in businesses and homes, and you have a system every morning. That you go through. We all do, and so we all have systems in our mind that we use, routines. And so they're designed for specific reasons. And in the case of NASA, safety has always been historically, first on NASA's list. So I would say that comes to my mind. And if I were to take anything or have anybody take anything away from this, I would say to, don't, don't ignore danger, don't ignore warning signs, and systems are in place for a reason, and if people don't use them, then, depending on the job you're in, people can die. So, or in my case, cabinets can get built wrong, right?
Okay. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for this time.
Oh, you're welcome. Anytime, come back.